Hi everybody, my name's Emma and I write the blog Emma and Her Machine. I've done this video vlog especially for Fabric Styles. They got in touch and asked if I would try out some of their fabric and do a vlog and a blog post about it. As soon as they got in touch, I knew I wanted to try some of their scuba because one, I've never worked with scuba before, and two, I wanted to see how the scuba worked out for a curvier girl, for a curvier figure, because you can find the scuba can be quite clingy. It's used for a lot of bodycon dresses that are quite fitted, so I wanted to have a go with that and see how it worked out. So I chose the Zadie dress because I thought it would be a really good way of showcasing the fabric and trying different fabrics together. So I've made it, as you can see. I've got it on, and I think that it is clingy but in the right places, and it's not clingy where it needs to be, which I'm really pleased about. I've done a little bit more on the construction of the Zadie dress itself on my blog, which I have to admit I wasn't over enamoured with. It's a tricky pattern, but there's a great tutorial, so it shouldn't actually be too tricky to do. I just found there was quite a few bits and pieces that went wrong, so if you're interested in knowing more about the construction of that, then have a look at the blog post that goes alongside this as well. So now I'll talk a little bit more about the scuba fabric itself. I chose the two colours to complement each other, so the black with all the flowers on and the plain black. Now when it first arrived, my first impressions were really good. It's really bright, really vibrant, and the print on it is really vibrant, and after I pre-washed it, it didn't fade and it still really pops and is really eye-catching. One thing I'll say is when I first got it, it didn't have as much stretch as I expected it to, which I thought might be a problem with the Zadie dress needing a jersey, but I persevered because obviously I'm doing a vlog post and I've said that I will try the Zadie dress, so here it is, and it did work out in the end. So about making it, I chose my jersey needle first of all because I thought with it being a jersey type fabric it would need that, but the jersey needle just does not go through the fabrics. It's not strong enough, thick enough to go through. So I tried a couple of different needles on some scraps and they weren't really working. They were skipping stitches and things, so I actually tried a denim needle in the end, which worked perfectly. It goes right through, and because it's nice and sharp, it was going through all the layers. So there is some pictures of the before and after using these needles, and it's much better with the denim needle. I find that because you're then using a denim needle and you do need to kind of like puncture the fabric a little bit, anything that you do wrong does not work well. It doesn't take very kindly to unpicking. So the neckline of the Zadie is quite tricky. This is the neckline. It has 5% ease, or the pattern says it does, but I would argue that there's no ease in it at all. It's really difficult to stretch. Because the scuba is not very stretchy anyway, I found it a bit tricky. It meant a bit of unpicking. I'm pleased with it now, obviously, but it just doesn't take very kindly to being unpicking. It leaves the impressions in the fabric, so just be super careful with lining up and things like that. However, having said that, it does take really well to pins. You can use loads of pins in it. It doesn't snag or anything. Like I thought that it might possibly snag as I was pinning, and it folds and molds really well. So if I show you like an arm, I just folded that straight over, placed my pins in, and it folds up really well. Obviously after you've done that, it needs pressing. I was worried a little bit about the pressing because obviously it's like a polyester type fabric, so I thought that it might not take too kindly to being pressed, but it was absolutely fine. It doesn't press really flat like a cotton would, but it presses absolutely fine. There's no problems with that at all. So it's a really heavy fabric, but it's really good. It's substantial, and I feel good, and it's like a good sturdy dress. I'm really pleased with it, but because it's so heavy as you're sewing it, you find your project's quite heavy and you're like heaving it up a little bit. So just make sure there's loads of room on your sewing table, which if you're anything like me, there isn't always a lot of room on your sewing table. So but it's not a problem, it's just something to keep in mind, I think. yeah, I'm really pleased with it. Like I said, it's really substantial. It's a really strong fabric, so it does have the stretch. But like the Zadie says that you should fix some ribbon or something along here, which I didn't do because I don't think it needs it, because it is quite sturdy on its own anyway. So yeah, it's really bright. I'm actually going to wear this out with my husband today to Port Sunlight, which is a really cute little village in the Wirral Peninsula. So if you've got any comments about it, if you want to know more, then Fabric Styles and I will include links to my blog and to the fabric, and I'd like to hear any comments you've got on it as well. And also if you've got any tips for what you can use your scuba scraps for, because usually I would use my scraps for makeup bags or luggage tags and things like that, and I don't really know what to use any scuba scraps for. So if there's any suggestions like that, then I'd love to hear them, and hopefully I will be speaking to you again soon. Thank you, bye!
Okay, alright, this is my first outing in my Zadie dress, so it's held up really well today. I really enjoyed it. Me and my husband have come for a day trip to Port Sunlight, so I thought that it might be a bit dull because it's getting to be a nice spring day today, but I think it looks really bright. The colours have really stood out, and I felt really comfortable and really pretty wearing it today, so I think it's passed the test for me.